Hello. I was wondering if I might trouble you for a cup of strong black coffee, and in the process engage you with an anecdote of no small amusement.
Hello, and welcome to another episode here at Nerdherder.
Golly.
What?
That just took me by surprise for some reason. I forgot that we were having a podcast.
Right. It's just, yes. Come back to us. Bring your astral form back.
Listen, man, I've been looking at TikToks and seeing people angry about country music again, and it's just, oh boy.
What a time to be alive. Well, and both as a reminder and as an explanation of our circumstances, we're rocking the iPad life right now.
Yes, we are.
I am Macless currently, but we do still have quite a lot of apples in the house, so we make it work. But when you do StreamYard on iPad, it doesn't play the music, so normally we get to vibe and enjoy the intro music, but it's just silence. It's always this "is it working" moment for us,
Yeah.
but
We can't hear the clips either, so I can't get a you fool.
right,
They can get a you fool,
yes,
but I can't get a you fool.
as soon as
Give me a you fool. You fool.
flames
You fool!
flames burning
One more.
burning fools.
One more. Can I get a Bernie Mac laugh, please?
Yes.
It's fine because I can hear it in my head.
Everybody can agree, regardless of your opinion, that Bernie Mac is the best part of Transformers.
It's true.
Come on, if we can't reach some common ground, that's got to be it. But anyway, well, obviously, welcome to the madness. We've got Brennen duplicated here,
Yes.
holding his spot early in line.
Now there are two of them.
Right. Oh no, it's getting out of hand here. But yeah. A great episode in store, and actually at the suggestion of the mythical guest himself. So go ahead and roll him on in
Here
here.
he is. Hey, Brennan.
Hello.
Yes, hello there. Hello there live now.
Hello there.
Good to have you back on as always.
Good to be here.
Thank you for really this whole episode, because it was your idea a good little while ago. We were inquiring the minds of our sweet and dear patrons, and you came up with this sort of conversation topic, spaghetti at the wall kind of thing, of things that Star Wars moments that kind of get to us, get us in our feels, maybe make us cry.
Oh no, for sure. Make me cry, because you know that I am a crybaby. You're fully aware of it.
You're a crybaby. I am not.
I am sometimes.
It's gotta, if I'm crying, people, which I really wouldn't do it around people, but and it's not like a masculine thing. I don't want people to, because there is that stigma. It's not that. It's just I don't.
Real men cry.
Real men do cry. I just go through a lot of other emotions before I ever get to crying.
Mm-hmm.
You go through several dwarves.
Right.
Happy, dumpy, sneezy. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. I get through 6 dwarves, and then finally there's Sabi.
And then there's Doc.
There's Doc. Yep.
But yeah, it's usually a very, very emotional place. And so it's a very rare thing, thankfully. But it's not to say I don't feel things. I just process them differently. So a lot of this for me,
just like tech.
Right, exactly. Oh my God, I love.
Or as Olinga says, tick.
I loved that episode so much. But yeah, so for me, it's going to be a lot more of the feels and all of that good stuff. And
I might actually cry on camera. It won't be the first time.
So there is an episode way back when. It was when we did an episode when we were at Celebration Chicago.
Yeah.
That's the one time I've cried.
That's
on
true.
camera.
I remember that.
I don't think I've ever cried on camera, but we'll see.
It
see.
wasn't
First time
planned. It wasn't planned. Between the heights of Star Wars and everything, we were talking about the Phantom Menace, if it puts it in perspective,
It's true.
which clearly we love.
Listen,
we
I
were-
don't want to be rude to people who don't like some of these movies,
Rude. Be rude.
but sometimes I wonder if you have the soul if you're not moved by some things.
Right, like
Exactly.
who hurt you?
Yeah,
that
who in
you
there?
have-
Yeah. If you
Uh,
well, I don't want to spoil any of my things on my list.
well,
There's certain
well,
things that if you're not moved by it, then what are you doing?
Exactly.
yeah, because we were very gratefully recently on your pod talking
Mhm.
about the Phantom Menace, and it's that same thing where it's like, okay, if the jokes don't land with Jar Jar, like you can't tell me you didn't feel anything in that moment where Shmi sent off Anakin. Like,
Mm.
come on, like, it's not always going to be winners, but there's no denying the fact that Star Wars has those moments that really hit us. And
Yeah.
And don't pretend like you didn't like Duel of the Fates.
exactly.
Don't pretend like it. We know better.
And so, but the cool thing is, because we're different, sometimes what hits us emotionally will be different things. So that's something I'm curious in this conversation unwrapping is, maybe some of the things that we align on, we all agree, like, oh my gosh, that was moving. But then some of the more unique ones where it's just like, oh, I didn't feel it that way. That's interesting,
Mhm.
I know for a fact that there's one on my list that will not be on either of yours.
Oh, interesting.
Are you sure?
Oh, I'm sure. Maybe.
Bet.
I don't know.
Let's see. I'll roll the droids
Roll
to
the
see.
Jar
droid.
Jar Binks turning the Senate over to.
The scrying
I can't
droids.
read. So anyway, well, we'll get in this, and as true gentlemen, Brennan and me will let them go first.
Thanks, gentlemen.
The then?
Appreciate that.
Everyone is before men. Let's just.
Men don't
Yep.
deserve it. No.
Oh no.
That was a joke for all of my cis friends out there.
Hey, I just saw
Men.
Darby the other day, so
Right. They points.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Go see it.
Oh yeah.
Even
So-
if you're one of these guys that's like a Darby movie, go see it. Go see it.
And
Absolutely.
that's the thing, is it's hitting a lot of those same marks like early Marvel movies where people were like, no, it's not a good comic book movie. It's just a good movie.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like I've heard a lot of people that I wouldn't say are Barbie movie people, like, why'd you go see it? Well, because it looked funny, and it
Mhm.
was, and they just had a good time.
Yeah, you saw my little review.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
For
I
sure.
really liked it.
So
Really.
there's your Nerdherder and Paige Turner's endorsement of Barbie. Go see
Go
it.
see it.
So why don't you start off this
Happily.
smorgasbord? What's
Good
one
word.
of your moments?
Smorgasbord?
Say- Word. The thing that I have on my list that I don't think either of you do, and it is
Starting strong.
something that hits me every single time. It does not matter what time of day we are watching this movie or like what the circumstances are. When I see Leia leaning over R2 in that hallway, when her music kicks in, I cannot help but start
Yep.
crying.
Yep.
I mean, for Pete's sake, I have the moment tattooed on me.
The
so
truth
much.
is that Leia's theme,
Every
when that
single-
hits, my word.
And
it is so powerful.
it definitely hits different now. It's always been like elegant and like beautiful, but now it's almost sort of this kind of transporting thing where
Yeah.
it always pulls you into all the, well, at least for me, it like
The feels.
Yeah, well, because it takes me to that place of like, here's all the things that Leia and Carrie were and are,
Yeah.
and all the inspiration.
That's exactly it. Is like this character, she's
Yeah.
being introduced as the princess, but that's not everything that she is. We know who she is in that moment, but for so many people watching that movie for the first time, she was just the princess.
Mhm.
She was the princess and the droid. I'm pretty sure that's what in the album, that's what that moment is called.
Might be. That's a
Maybe.
good name.
Thank you. That's what
And she strangles her oppressors with their own chains.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that moment, it hit very hard. And there are times where I'll just be sitting back watching A New Hope, and then the second the music kicks in, I'm already just like reaching for a tissue because I can't
Yeah.
help but cry.
I'll say like that, not that moment, but the moment in The Last Jedi when R2 plays it for
Oh.
Luke
Oh my
as
god.
the
That was a cheap trick.
oh gosh, that one, and because you can see it on Luke's face too, on Mark Hamill, which
Yeah.
there's so much, and it's not a knock or a comparison to any other moments, but
No.
in The Last Jedi, there's so many genuine emotional moments with
Yeah.
where Luke is emotional because Mark Hamill's emotional.
Yeah.
And
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The Last Jedi is a masterpiece,
Agreed.
it
and that will be engraved on my tombstone.
is ours too.
Well, maybe not engraved on. I have another quote I want.
We'll make sure a sticker gets on there for you.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, of course, from the afterlife, because there's no way we're making it past you. But
Mhm.
No.
we'll send Boba to do it. We'll leave it in
I
the will.
pray for your souls. It's okay.
Oh, thank you.
When the earth cracks open and sucks us inside. Yeah.
All Power Rangers Lost Galaxy style. That's
Oh,
a
for sure.
very
I'll do
specific.
it. I'll do a Dante and go down into hell and rescue you.
Right.
I appreciate that, bud.
Well, fair enough. Not on my list. Adjacent, although I wasn't necessarily going to bring up the moment in The Last Jedi, but I think similarly in that moment with Episode 8.
Mhm.
But what about you, Brennan? What's one of the moments that get you?
Well, I have a few that sometimes get me, and then I have a few that get me every time.
Mm.
So really quick on when the moment is right, once the medal ceremony at the end of A New Hope,
Yes.
when Leia talks to Rey about when Rey says that she felt Luke die with peace and purpose
Mm-hmm.
in The Last Jedi. We are what they grow beyond, as Yoda says to Luke. And well, every time Princess Leia, when Leia is adopted by Bail at the end of Revenge of the Sith,
Mm-hmm.
and her music hits, I do start to get a little weepy. Now, for the
For
one
sure.
well, do you have any comments on that before I move on?
Well,
Any of those moments?
Definitely the last moments with Luke, which in fact, the soundtrack track naming it Peace and Purpose.
Yeah.
That whole thing, because I remember how it left me when we first watched The Last Jedi in theaters, and every time since. And I always plug it anytime we talk about The Last Jedi or that scene, but especially in the retrospect of a fan edit that Omar, the negotiator, made, where all of the moments of Luke's life lead back to the sunset, and it's such a beautiful parallel that he's still the same old Luke, and in the context of The Last Jedi, where he felt like a failure, where he felt like this legend on a pedestal, bringing it back to you're still just that kid that is looking to the sunset and wanting to mean something, and here you are meaning something in your last moments.
Saves the day as a Jedi should, without violence.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Not slashing down the armies, not giving his nephew a noogie and telling him how bad he's been, but by apologizing and by letting the ones who can actually accomplish something live on to fight another day.
Exactly.
Nice.
It's so there's so much in that, and like I like a lot of people never really imagined Luke dying. It wasn't like what could it look like, what would it be, but that wasn't how I expected, but I couldn't imagine it any other way now. It's the most
I always imagined that it was like he's gonna die fighting Snoke, who's actually Darth Plagueis. All those silly than much back in the day.
And yeah, and you know, all the last stand and epicness that could have been, but
yeah,
No.
and it ended up being better than I could have ever imagined.
100%. It was the most
So-
Jedi thing he'd done since Death Star 2.
The one that gets me every time. So, the backstory. At the end of Revenge of the Sith, I was sobbing.
Mm.
When I go online, I always have to clarify and say I was crying with joy. Other people were crying for other reasons.
Right.
But I was crying with joy. And my friend who was sitting next to me said, "What do you think?" I'm like, "Give me a minute," because I was like ugly crying.
Mm.
But the moment that gets me every time is when Rey, Finn, and Poe hug each other at the end of The Rise of Skywalker.
Same.
I was gonna say, I feel like that's one of your moments.
Oh,
'cause
for sure.
I know when we watch it, that always catches you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because-
I mean, that moment, and particularly when Finn starts crying,
Yeah.
that moment right there is beautiful.
absolutely.
And, you know, I mean, I love these three characters. I cannot wait for more Jedi Master Rey Skywalker.
For
Yes.
And yes, that is her name.
Yes.
Exactly. It was definitely a more emotional, and it's not a dig. And I always clarify that because somebody's always going to hear it that way when I say things. But it's definitely more emotional than like the episode 6, you know, like celebration for me.
Yeah, well, it's us all differently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not-
No, I love this, and it is that it is Ewok celebration.
We'll get there. We'll get
It
there
is
in a
all
minute.
joy, but for me, the emotional in all of that is Luke, you know, burying his father.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And-
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Yeah, and then we go to the celebration so that we end on a high note. You know,
Yeah.
unlike this one where, you know, it's just so much wrapped in there of just I can't believe we did it. You know,
Exactly. You get joy. You get grief.
And I'm
You get
thinking,
love.
2019.
Mhm.
Get it? We got Endgame. And in Endgame, Tony Stark says the ultimate, "I am Iron Man." And everybody stood up and cheered and thought it was amazing. Why the heck aren't people doing the same when Rey says, "I am all the Jedi"?
right? I
Why
mean-
the heck are people not standing up in the theater cheering the way they did at Endgame?
Right.
I will never understand that.
It's definitely
It's like, are you so hard of heart? Are you so soulless
right.
that it means nothing?
Yeah.
Because the Jedi don't get a lot of moments like that because it's you know Jedi. I wouldn't call it showboat, but
No, they showboat. You're right.
well,
And all the voices.
Oh yeah.
you know, when I think of the times that in a lot of the other moments with Jedi where they quote unquote win, you know, there's just this. It kind of had to be done. There's this necessity, you know, and it's also kind of swift. It doesn't like linger on the moment a lot. With that moment with Rey, you know, it like crescendos so much with that line, and for me, it's the blowback to Palpatine where, like, that's how you got to hit him. Like a
His
guy like
own evil destroys him.
exactly, and that's where it's just like, oh no, oh
Yeah,
you know,
evil
it's just
people will destroy each other. They don't need help from us.
Exactly.
and that's the like beauty of that moment and the energy and the zeal when you know you feel like she's on the ropes and then she's got that one last big push.
And I think the reason maybe I cry when they all hug at the end is because of those incredible moments.
Oh, for sure.
So
Well,
yeah, that the moment of them hugging gets me every time.
Yeah.
and the Rise of Skywalker has a lot going on.
Oh my word, yes.
I mean, it has a lot of emotional moments, a lot of escalating to that final, you know, encounter. So it's definitely understandable to get kind of swept up in all of that. I definitely with the finale of The Rise of Skywalker, I feel it more in that moment when Poe's about to give up and Lando comes on the line and says, "There's more of us." And
There's more of us.
and you know,
More
when
of
it
us.
pulls up into that shot of all the ships, I'm like,
And what a line, because that's something we can use in real life.
Oh yeah.
for
There
sure.
are always way more good people than there are bad.
Exactly.
I
And
mean,
then
we're seeing it right now with the strikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like there are more of us.
Well, and that's the inspiring thing is like challenges will always be there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that it's the only thing there. It doesn't mean that it's insurmountable. But you definitely need each other to get through it. It's not like, it's not to say you can't do things on your own, but I think a good person is never completely on your own.
Never.
And I think that's the lesson of Rey. Poe has actual people in actual ships actually show up. So he's not alone, actually, physically. But Rey, spiritually and metaphorically and emotionally, has the history of Jedi behind her.
1,000 generations.
And so it's like, even though
1,000 generations live in you.
Right. So even though she's just Rey, she is all the Jedi at the same time. So like, even when you feel like you're alone as a person, you're everyone that's come before you, everyone that's spoken into your life and built you up and been there for you. Nobody, what we used to call is nobody's a turtle on a fence post. Like somebody put the turtle there. Somebody put you where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so, even if you don't have people immediately around you in life, you've got people that are there with you in the moment, even still. So, I love the Last Jedi. I love the Last Jedi, and I love the Rise of Skywalker.
For sure.
So there's more of us always get you in the emotions.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
say always. I feel like, I don't know. It depends, because when I watch The Rise of Skywalker, it depends on what mood I'm in as to whether or not I watch it from like my own like perspective, or whether or not I watch it as a fan. If I watch it as and that's really weird. My brain's weird, but stick with me.
Makes sense.
So when I watch it as a fan, yes, it gets me because I'm watching it as someone sitting there being inspired by the fantastical story and everything. I'm not seeing myself in there, but I'm receiving joy and emotion from it. But when I'm watching it, like personally, a moment that almost always, and I say almost always because even when I'm not in the right place, it still gets me, is Han and Ben's moment on the Death Star.
Yeah, I was going to mention that moment. That doesn't get me every time. But I think this last time I watched it, it did. Particularly when Ben says, "Dad," and then he can't say, "I love you."
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, but that moment was great because there had been no leaks, no rumors about that scene.
Right.
Most people thought, Harrison Ford's never going to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Harrison Ford's funny because it's like, is that a Force ghost? I don't know.
Right. It's just like,
it's like who
they
cares?
paid me to be there, and I was there.
I look at it as like, well, okay. To some people who are listening, I have to say this. I once heard a guy say, "How is Leia reaching across the galaxy just to say the name Ben going to kill her?" And my opinion is she didn't just to say his name. I think she used the Force to conjure that image of Han. But however you look at it, it's a beautiful scene because it's a repeat of what happened in The Force Awakens, but this time it's the way it should have been.
Yes.
Exactly.
And if I could bring a little biblical metaphor in here. So in the New Testament, Peter denies Jesus 3 times. After Jesus is resurrected, he asks him 3 times, "Do you love me?" Giving him the chance to redo it. That's what Ben Solo is getting in the scene. a chance to redo that moment on the bridge.
Yeah.
And it's marvelous. It's absolutely marvelous.
Absolutely.
I love the mirror of it with what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, when you put that against the scene in The Force Awakens, like that's such a beautiful way of redemption. You know, it's not let's do it different. Let's do something bigger and more, you know, like it's like no, let's do that again because you know, now the walls have come down.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And I really haven't ever spent a lot of thought on the how of it. But that's interesting that, you know, it could be Leia using the Force because we definitely, although I think we agree, Han has some Force sensitivity.
Oh, for sure.
Well,
that-
everybody does in some degree, I think.
Oh, for sure. You know, his idea of luck is really just the Force and good friends bailing him out all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think that's part of what like personally gets me is the, you know, thought of doing things over again. You know, the thought of things unsaid or undone. Just all that stuff. I love it so much.
And if you think about it, all of the scenes of redemption we get in Star Wars are quiet. They're personal. Like what happens in the throne room between Luke and his father, it's just the two of them. There's no like crowd around to be like, yeah, Anakin Skywalker's back. No, it's just Luke and his father having a quiet moment.
That's the next one on my list, I think.
Exactly. Like it's just Ben, and it's just, that's
Ben just on.
Exactly.
Yep.
You don't need everybody to know. It's redemption comes from in here.
Yep. Which that'd be interesting too. Is, you know, because he has the line of "You're just a memory," and he's like, "Yeah, your memory." Exactly. Like it's even, you know, it's also interesting to think maybe it is just Ben doing that, like not actually projecting his father, but
this is how it should have been.
Yeah, it not a cheap it's all in his head thing, but you know, I don't know. There's some oomph to that of just him being so thoughtful of. I wish I could do it again, and there's your chance. You know, I don't know. I just that is beautiful. That whole scene is beautiful. It's not a repeat of Luke and Vader. It's not. No. It's completely its own, and it belongs to those characters. It, you know, the way that Han cheers him up and, you know, forgives him is in such a Han way, and
very good.
It doesn't like blate Kylo Ren and Ben Solo as a character to, you know, he's not weak and sobby and you're like, oh, please forgive me, you know, like, you know, it's just very honest and everything. Like it's a
very father-son interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't know, but yeah. Anyway,
you get it. You don't have a dad. Get new jokes.
But you did say that the throne room was on yours as well.
Right? Yeah. So my list is not in any particular order, just because it's hard to.
Same.
Frankly, I call it the "you were right" scene. It's the unmasking of Darth Vader. Now, when I was a kid, that scene always fascinated me. To see the unmasking of this villain, but as I get older, the emotion in that scene gets me. Let's give a shout out to the great Sebastian Shaw, giving like 17 lines of dialogue. No, 17 words, I think.
I was gonna say that sounds more
and
right.
Delivers a beautiful moment, and I love that. You know that you already have. I've got to save you. Which is it? Just the Lord of the Rings borrow.
Ooh.
When Theoden dies.
It was definitely
And Aelin says, "I'm here to save you," and he's like, "You already did."
Interesting. I
Anyhow,
like,
the chicken and egg kind of thing.
but
But
either way, that's
yeah,
the line that gets me in that moment. Is it wasn't about like physically saving him. It wasn't about getting to play catch with dad. It was about, saving his dad's soul, essentially. I mean,
yeah. And then of course the line, "Tell your sister you were right."
now that
And
one,
that's taken on more and more meaning as the years have gone on.
for sure.
yeah, and I was gonna say that's why that gets me now. Whereas before, I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
but like, obviously with Ben Solo and all this other stuff, and with Leia's attitude in the sequels of not wanting to give up hope on her son, like, oh my god, that like
Mhm.
the colliding of those worlds is just
Yeah.
so interesting to me. And so, because obviously the Ben Solo story is very important to me, that this brings that forward to me, where it's just like, oh, Ben Solo even steals the scene from Anakin.
Mhm.
You know what makes me cry even more in the unmasking of Vader scene?
Mm.
Listen to Ken Napslock's recount of that scene.
Yes.
It made me sob.
For sure. He
when he's like Anakin in his last moments probably remembered the things his mother taught him.
Mm.
Sorry, I'm just getting emotional right now. Like, ooh,
well, and
That's what we're here for.
we'll get there in a minute. Like,
yeah, well, I was gonna say, and that's the thing is, like, Anakin's always had strong moments for me. Obviously, that being the first, that's probably the first time Star Wars like got to me emotionally as a kid.
was the "you were right" or was the "will I ever see you again"?
You were right.
Well,
No,
okay.
you already have. Like, well, really, I guess that whole,
That whole
just
scene, the Anakin's death scene.
yeah, because I don't know, I was always fascinated once the helmet came off,
Yeah,
and I just
I'm like, what's
remember,
the story of this guy?
yeah, and so I always paid closer attention as a kid, and so all of that just always, that was probably the first emotional moment with Star Wars for me, because it was always a lot of, you know, excitement and energy and everything like that. A New Hope, Empire. Now, I will say Empire's become more emotional as I've gotten older,
Mm,
especially all the stuff on Dago. But
mm,
as a kid, Return of the Jedi was the first thing that made me feel things. But, it's centered around Anakin. And of course, each of the prequels has a moment with Anakin that I feel like, for me, really get to me.
For sure.
We of course talked about the moment in episode 1, which when Shmi sends Anakin
yep,
off.
and that's on my list. That's on
Oh,
my
for
list.
sure. Every stinking time. We
And
talked
I'll
about
tell you why,
it.
actually.
Mhm.
So, the more and more the years have gone on, the more the Anakin saying goodbye to his mom scene hits me.
Mm.
And it hits me even harder now for this reason. Little Leia in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
Oh, yeah.
The scene when she says goodbye to Ben makes me cry.
Mm.
When he talks about her parents, Padme and Anakin, makes
Mm-hmm.
me get seen. And then she says, "Will I ever see you again?"
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like poetry. It rhymes,
Mm-hmm.
and that makes both those scenes even more emotional
For sure.
because it's a repeat of this idea.
Mm-hmm.
And all the crap that we gave Jake Lloyd back in the day. Go and watch the scene where he says goodbye to Shmi. That's a good acting.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
For sure.
Yep. So those two scenes in particular.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I didn't even remember that moment paralleled in Kenobi.
Yeah.
After Qui-Gon showed up, I kind of
That's the only thing that you were waiting for.
that spent
Yep.
all of my emotions right there.
Yep.
God. But yeah, I mean, I love that so much, and ultimately, yeah, it means something to me. I mentioned on your podcast, I'm a mama's boy, so like it all comes from that. It's all where that I feel like my mom had moments like that where it broke her heart to let me grow up or do things, but she did
Yeah.
it. And so like, and of course, not in a Qui-Gon's evil because he stole a kid, because some people I feel like take it
I'll
very
than take.
some people go way negative with Qui-Gon and all of that.
How dare they? How
it's-
dare they?
For
No one
me,
speaks ill of Qui-Gon.
right. For me, like it's not that I think Qui-Gon was evil and that he was taken away, but I do feel like he was happy, and I feel like he was happier than he ever was again there with his mom. I mean, that's crazy to say of a boy who's a slave and everything like that, but thinking about the could be, the would have.
Yeah, he never really had much happiness after that.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. I don't think it's because he went and joined the Jedi or anything, but I think there's a lot of things that happened for sure. But it's emotional because it's just like, oh my gosh, this is the last time in a long time he's gonna, have one of these moments. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to explain. But...
Yeah, because then he gets into his stalking Padme years.
Right. But similarly, too, it's the same thing with Anakin and Shmi. I feel like nobody can, coldly watch when he returns to save his mom and ends up losing her.
And shout out to Brunella August.
For
sure.
Oh,
yeah.
She is a classically trained actress from Scandinavia. She worked with Ingmar Bergman, the great Swedish director. She's been in a lot of stage stuff, a lot of film stuff. Does a lot of Ibsen and stuff on stage.
Yeah.
So shout out to her.
Absolutely. Well, and the fact that she in too for this, she came back for the Clone Wars, incredible.
That's right. Yeah. She did.
Yeah. I mean, it's just clearly, great that she enjoyed it, but good for us that she enjoyed it because she kept coming back and giving such great performance.
Yeah.
Yep. So I guess let's hear yours, I guess.
Yeah. That moment in the Clone Wars is exactly
Mortis. Mortis.
You showed me the Clone Wars. We were doing a rewatch for the podcast.
Yeah,
way back. And we got to Mortis arc. And the last thing that I was expecting was a Shmi cameo. That wasn't even Shmi. Honestly, it was the brother. But still, as soon as I started crying, because that is such a powerful moment to have for Anakin. Because this is this is an important time for Anakin, because this is the crux of if he's going to turn to the dark side or not. This is months before episode 3. This, and honestly, if he had lived in that moment a little bit longer, who's to say if he had, if he remembered everything that happened on Mortis, would he have turned to the dark side? Probably not, honestly. But it's something that had to happen.
I don't know. I think that was part of the point of Mortis, which you're not you'll break your brain trying to understand.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the point is it was gonna happen.
More is all that matters.
Yeah, right, exactly. No,
I
feel like it was always gonna happen. I think that's the point is knowing didn't prevent him from making the wrong choice.
Exactly.
I think by that point it was always going to happen. The question was, would the redemption happen?
Very true.
Yeah, it all comes down to choice.
I was talking to, I want to say it was Alden forever ago. We were talking about I do occasionally.
I try not to.
We were talking about Revenge of the Sith, and he brought
Speaking
up
of revenge,
right. He made the comparison of, the son uses Shmi in that moment to kind of tempt and push Anakin, and in Revenge of the Sith, when Anakin's feeling guilty about Dooku, Palpatine uses Shmi. Remember what happened with your mother and the Sand People, and it's just like, oh,
which is why
Mhm.
yeah,
I think Palpatine arranged her death.
It's a possibility.
could have been if I wouldn't put it past such an evil bastard.
hmm
Like he's definitely the guy that could have definitely orchestrated every bad
I'll
thing.
give you the other clue that I have. So one is that he mentions it to Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
The other clue, when Anakin tells Padme, I killed them all, what music is playing in the background?
Oh yeah.
The Emperor's theme.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
It's
That's-
not the Vader theme, it's the Emperor's theme.
That's true.
I think old Papa Telpy is up to something.
I could definitely see it. Because that whole scene, really, like obviously the personal moment with Shmi is one thing, but when it cuts to Yoda sensing it happening and you hear Qui-Gon calling
Yeah.
out,
Anakin,
all of those,
stop.
it like compounds and really just makes you feel
Yeah.
this is the making of Darth Vader.
Yes, this is a moment in the Force.
yeah.
Be interesting. Shmi and Mortis. Okay. Good.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's an interesting one. So my next one, I'm gonna pivot slightly.
Pivot.
Pivoting.
Andor.
Mm.
Andor.
Oh,
Martha's "That's Just Love" monologue. Cassian goes back, says, "Mom, we can get out of here." And she says, "I'm not gonna stay," and gives this monologue about why she's staying and about why love matters more than any of that.
Mhm.
I didn't cry the first time I watched that scene. I cried the second time I watched that scene.
mm.
Fiona Shaw was amazing, and I'm going to say it right now. Where are the acting Emmy nominations for Andor?
For
Right.
sure.
Of all the shows,
It didn't get a single one.
which
I
is-
mean, Stellan Skarsgård, Andy Serkis,
oh yeah,
Fiona Shaw, Denise Goff. Where are their nominations?
and Andor as a whole was just such an emotional roller coaster.
For
I mean,
sure.
Yes.
it was
I
just
can't
so
swim.
dense.
And nothing better than seeing Brasso hit a fascist in the face
oh,
Oh, for sure.
heck yeah.
with a brick. It's kind of like the armor where everybody's like, she's secretly evil. It's like, no, she's hitting fascists in the face with a hammer.
Right.
Exactly.
She is a hero.
It's like we get it that you think she's a little sus, but let's be clear, she's hitting a bunch of fascists.
right.
But yeah,
And-
the moment with Martha is, man.
I feel
Absolutely.
like any moment with Marva's fair game
Oh
on
yes,
this
Fiona
topic.
Shaw was amazing.
Mhm.
Like
Aunt
and-
Petunia herself.
right.
Oh yeah.
And you can see where Cassian gets his sort of like righteous zealotness to him,
For sure.
because say what you will about, because they obviously they keep promising that season 2 of Andor is going to lead us to where Cassian's in that dark place they find him in Rogue One and
We
everything.
see it.
Right.
It's there.
Mm.
But I feel like my thing is while the rebellion is kind of in a dark place, they're trying to do whatever they can do to win. I feel like Andor's sticking to his principles. Like he doesn't kill Galen. He doesn't. There's more moments where he is so tightly holding to what he believes in.
Yeah.
But he's at times powerless to the system that he has
He
chosen to
needs
fight
Jen
for.
and she needs him.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So, when
They
you have,
bring out the best part of each other.
yeah, first a dyad, one might say.
I would say.
Ooh.
But yeah, with a mom like Marva, I mean, of course you turn out like that. Of course you turn into a fascist beater. Like, just happens.
Yeah.
You know. Um,
You're speaking from experience. You have a mom.
well, fair enough. Yeah. My mom would definitely throw bricks at fascists,
For sure.
which is something you always want to be able to say.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'm trying to think. Well, I since we're
Obviously, like Andy Serkis's Kino Loy speech.
Oh
sure.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Or well, B2 emailed like, I want Martha after she dies.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Such a good baby.
That poor guy. And I just like I get there's more things that have to happen, but the fact that Cassian comes, rescues them, sends them off, and then like take B2EMO with you, like everybody needs a good droid. And B2 needs friends. So but such a sweet boy.
Yes. It looks like a fire hydrant.
Exactly. I can't wait for season 2 when K2 meets B2 and it's just like, why is this trash can sad?
Yeah, I've got my B2 email figure over on the wall. You can't see it.
Oh my god, I love him so much. It's so fun to fiddle with because it's so they got creative. They could have just made a block, but
No.
I love that they did get creative with it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, more of the speech gets me.
Oh yeah.
Sticking with shows and whatnot. For me, definitely Twilight of the Apprentice and Rebels. Everything with Ahsoka and Vader in that moment. And
I won't leave you. Not again.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, but then he has the hesitation.
Yeah.
Right.
And then he goes, then you will die. There's that hesitation.
Which, I mean,
and he calls her Ahsoka.
Yeah.
It's Ahsoka, we see the eye.
And that such a bold choice with Filoni on that one, where I'm glad they didn't leave it terribly open-ended of, whoa, could Ahsoka have she was this close to save it? Like no.
She would Luke needed to do it.
But she reached him.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes. She reminded him he is Anakin.
Yeah.
Same with Kenobi in the series where he was never going to save him.
Yeah.
You
didn't kill Anakin, I did.
Right.
Exactly.
Of course, that being only 9 years, it's a lot more fresh.
Yeah.
But Luke does the same thing in The Last Jedi, where he shows up and he doesn't treat Ben like Kylo Ren. He doesn't treat him like a villain to beat. He treats him like a kid that he wronged. Like, he reminds him who he is. And ultimately, that's when it's just like, no matter how much you try to pretend you're someone else, no matter how much you try to pretend you put that old you down, you're still you, which means you still have a choice.
Despite everything, it's still you.
Which, those are the things that get me in my feels. Those are the things that get me like excited and emotional with those inspiring moments. Because we all have moments like that in life where things get so loud and crazy and you feel like you're lost in all that noise, and having those things that pull you out and say, no, you're still here, but what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those are essential to making it through life. And that's what sticks out to me in that showdown with Ahsoka and Vader.
Yeah.
Well, I thought there was a baby. It's a cat.
No, it is a baby.
It is a baby.
Just a
what do we got here?
Baby.
What do we got?
This is Piglet.
Hi, Piglet.
She's our 16-year-old senior cat.
Oh.
She's 16.
Yeah.
She's gonna be
And we have a cat. She's a Devon Rex named Nina.
Oh,
nice.
Cute.
She's my sister's cat. She's about 7, I think.
Nice. Hopefully she lived long and happy. This one definitely lived a very long time, very spoiled and happy life. So.
Oh yeah, she gets fed.
Yep. Yeah.
What? You got another one?
Let me consult the list. Because I
consult the list.
let's pull out our big ones. It's getting to that
Oh.
hour time.
Oh, you want me to pull out the big
So
ones?
because we
Oh
could go.
boy!
I
All right.
one that's going to start a conversation. For
Okay.
sure, because it always
That
does.
sounds like a big one.
So to go back, not as far as when we watched the Clone Wars, you also forced me to watch
Why
Rebels.
do you always make that
Rebels is
because it
really
hurt
good.
me deep inside.
like I forced you?
Rebels is probably my favorite of the shows.
Oh my
Exactly.
gosh, it's so yeah. So Rebels is the Phantom Menace of Star Wars shows.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's the most Star Warsy, in my honest opinion.
Oh no,
and
for sure.
it's
Hashtag did the death of Gregor. Very sad.
which it's not a knock to Clone Wars or
No.
anything else, but I feel like everything that is Star Wars is in
Yeah.
Rebels for sure.
Yeah.
Also
I
has
agree.
confusing
I
wars.
agree.
Right, it's not as crazy. It has the Bendu, but it's not as confusing.
Oh my gosh, the Bendu.
Mm.
So okay,
Yeah.
so Doom specifically. There is quite possibly one of the most important sacrifices in
Yep.
all of Star Wars in
Yep.
one of these episodes. Like Kanan's sacrifice is beautiful no matter how you look at it.
His eyes.
Yeah,
His
Yeah.
eyes turning back.
that
Yeah.
last moment.
It's the last thing that he saw was his family. And that gets me.
Ooh.
Oh
Wow.
gosh,
Wow.
Yeah.
like
I didn't think about that. Wow.
yeah. Well, and when you put that with Vader, with Anakin saying, "Let me
And he
look."
kisses her.
Exactly.
He kisses her.
Oh my gosh!
It hurts, doesn't it?
Dang.
Yeah. And technically, the baby's in there. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, when did that happen? Do you suppose?
they share a room on the Ghost.
So there's people that plotted it out.
You.
No. Like because there's a moment.
Great way to spend the Sabbath day.
I know.
Right. I think it's after. Oh my gosh.
Oh, she was being tortured while pregnant.
Thrawn's evil.
Thrawn is evil.
I'm not gonna claim to know when it was, but I read an article where they were like, when Jason was conceived, like how pregnant was she? She was very recently pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
I would agree with that.
I also read this incredibly unhinged headcanon that someone had where in that moment when Kanan is like he impregnated her through the Force. Hilarious.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
Only one man can impregnate with the Force, and that's Plagueis.
Exactly. And it was
/
one
Palpatine.
time.
And then the Force struck back. Yeah.
Exactly. But no, yeah,
I mean, it all lines up. It's just, I wonder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she didn't actually say I love you to him until that moment.
Yeah.
Well, because there was
the circumstances.
Yeah, there was a time before that where I think it was when they were on that planet with the spiders, and it was, I think it was after something. It might have even been after the Twilight of the Apprentice, but there was a moment where they had a big connection because it was like they didn't know if they were going to come back, and they shared a moment, and I think that's when a lot of people latch on that. Okay, maybe that was when it happened.
You gotta line up the time. I don't know. It's weird.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but
Jason Sandula will probably get him in.
I hope so, and I hope he looks less like an elf in the Ahsoka show.
They don't know how half Twi'lek children.
Yeah, it's just not.
Well, we know we've seen two of them.
Right. But they definitely lean more Twi'lek. Thankfully.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
We shall.
They got strong Rizal.
But yeah, the sacrifice of Kanan. Yeah.
Yeah, Jedi Knight's a tough one, and then like following that up with the moment where all of the Ghost members in their own way grieve for him.
For sure.
Just
Ezra going completely pissed off teenager.
Yeah.
And just having that, I don't know how we're gonna do this.
And the epilogue of Rebels, we must mention that as well.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Like, Callus going to the Satan world.
Yeah.
with Zeb, with seeing Jason Segula and being like, what?
Right.
Getting to see a bit of Sabine and Ahsoka, and of course we're a month, 3 weeks away, a little bit.
Yes, we are.
I'm excited.
Oh
for
boy!
those
But
two.
yeah, the moment of Kanan's death is sad. Things don't make me cry,
Mm-hmm.
but that moment is pretty moving.
For sure.
Yeah, because there's this tension the whole way through. Like, I knew something was going to happen.
Yeah, me too.
It felt like they were leading up to it, but kind of like we mentioned with Luke, that
I
piece
think
of
we're making Boop cry.
A little bit, but it's okay. I'm fine.
But yeah,
You're crying.
That we see come over Luke in that his last moment.
Yeah,
It seems like Kanan's on cloud 9. Like he rescued his wife. Like
Yep.
everything is good. He's just at peace.
he's done it.
Exactly.
And so, oh my gosh, and getting to hear him in the Rise of Skywalker.
No, yeah. In the heart of the Jedi lies her strength.
Oh, and having one of the best lines.
Freddie Prinze Jr. Awesome.
He's amazing.
Do you know that he could play Kanan in live action?
I wish he would. I would love that. I think he said like pretty plainly he doesn't want to come back to things.
Mm-hmm.
But
so
I feel like so he says. Yeah,
and John Krasinski said he didn't want to be in the MCU. I mean, come on.
Exactly.
Right, and here he is. Well, I think it's more. It would have to be something really.
Oh yeah, it's like Harrison Ford. It's got to be.
Yeah, it has to have a value to it.
Yeah,
it can't just be. We want more stuff to happen with this cool character. Like I'd love some hologram flashback in the Ahsoka show, or maybe season 2, depending on how much they deal with Ezra.
I personally want him to go full bonkers. I want Lothwolf. I just know
I'm cool with that.
I want Lothwolf with Freddie Prinze.
Do a little Game of Thrones.
I want a real Lothwolf. Well, I mean, Lothwolf.
Tactile Lothwolf.
Yeah. Live action Lothwolf would make me happy.
Oh, for sure.
Let's say that.
Yeah. The next one for me.
Yeah.
Well, really quickly, this doesn't always make me cry, but Grogu saying goodbye to Mando.
For sure.
It's seeing Pedro's face as he cries. To see our boy crying in there.
100%.
And Grogu touching his face. That's a cute moment.
For sure. Another that I want to see you with.
But I've got, this is my penultimate one. I'm using that word correctly. I'm using that word correctly as opposed to some people who say penultimate meaning ultimate.
Yeah.
My penultimate is the reuniting of Leia and Luke in The Last Jedi. Leia's theme's playing a bit, and then the sibling theme plays.
Yeah.
Which the Luke and Leia theme from Return of the Jedi is an underrated piece of music. And the moment they reunite and they talk to each other, and then music starts playing, and she says, "Don't say it. I changed the hair."
Right.
And then no one's ever really gone. And that, and the whole kiss around the thread, she knows that he's not really there. The clues that we get, sort of. But that moment of them reuniting is extraordinary.
I love it. And also, I mean, he's not coming swooping in with a cape or anything. It's just such a casual fashion, and just so appropriate for the moment. But them getting a last moment was so important, and I'm glad it went down the way it went down.
And this, of course, is after Carrie Fisher had passed away.
Yeah. And I mean, it said such a different meaning after the fact. But I love the moment they get to share, and obviously the double meaning or triple or however many of
Ryan Johnson is a sneaky fella.
Oh my gosh. he needs to do more Star Wars.
Yeah, he's
amazing.
brilliant. Bring him back. Bring him back.
But yeah, no one's ever really
If the
gone.
fan bros are going to complain, then they're going to complain.
Right. If anything, it drives them off more.
Yeah.
Let's get them out of here. But yeah, no one's ever really gone. Luke kind of preemptively saying, like, I know this is going to kill me, but don't worry. If no one's ever really gone.
Yeah.
Saying with Ben, no one's ever really gone. And obviously the real meaning with Carrie, no one's ever really gone. Like, it just keeps resounding.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, such a great moment.
That moment gets me.
For sure.
Yeah, I feel like so much, you could put so much of The Last Jedi in this list for me. So it's kind of cheating, but
Uh-oh.
my biggest moment isn't technically Star Wars.
Explain to me.
So it's kind of playing off of.
Oh no, it's one of the Ewok adventure movies.
Yes, it is.
No, not quite. But it's kind of playing.
Wilford Brimley.
A great segue from Brennan bringing up, the Luke and Leia moment, because a Star Wars comic, that's literally what it's called, ASWC, is a fan done comic of artists and writers. They create little stories that don't rewrite canon. They fit within the stories as we know them and love them, but
Okay.
present things that didn't happen, but would be cool if they did. I love many of them. They have, I want to say, over a dozen out there, and you can find them. I recommend reading them. They're all short because they're independently done.
Yeah.
They have one of Qui-Gon meeting Chirrut. All kinds.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I like that. I like
It's
that.
really
It's
good.
good.
But my favorite.
I'm one of the Force, and the Force is with me.
Yes.
Exactly.
Those two definitely.
I got to mention that moment in a minute when we get there.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
But there's one where Rey is just sitting around a campfire on Jakku with some junk trader, and she hears a hollow message from Leia. Leia's putting out these hollow messages calling out, the First Order, and that the New Republic's covering that up and trying to inspire people to join the Resistance.
Ooh.
And Rey is just fascinated with Leia. She's heard the legends of her and everything, and she wonders, well, is she really still alive? Is she still out there? She's lived this long life. And the junk trader says, people like that don't die. They're always out there, out among the stars, which is exactly the same thing Luke says in The Last Jedi. But this was immediately after Carrie had passed away. And they weren't really talking about Leia. They were talking about Carrie. And I've, of course, I've since internalized that about my mom. People like that don't just die.
No.
They don't go away. They can't. No one's ever really gone. And so that line, but just that idea in general, has always stuck with me and always catches me in my moments where I miss someone I love, or where, I feel like I'm not who I should be in life and all this other stuff. The idea that it's not over, you're not ever really done until you decide you are. And it keeps me going. It's inspiring. And so I like it a lot. So I really recommend people check out that comic, as well as the others they've done. They're all really beautiful. And like I said, all done by fans, people who love Star Wars. And so I feel like that's as much Star Wars as you can get. Like, when people make it with love and good intention, I feel like,
You get the thing on your arm here.
Yeah, actually I do. I have it tattooed on me. I combined the lines and put it together with a portrait of Carrie. So there you go. It's clearly stuck with me. It clearly means something to me. So that's probably that is my biggest Star Wars feel.
Yep. Boop.
We've mentioned one a few at this point, and I think the moment that gets me every single time, doesn't matter where we are, We could just be like casually rewatching it on a random Tuesday afternoon. The scene where Jin is watching Galen's last that it
I
hit.
feel bad. That scene has never made me cry. I feel bad.
Wow. Like I understand, but like I don't. There's something about the performance there, about how
Well, yeah. I mean,
she's
they're both
fine
amazing.
she's fine at first, then she just completely breaks down,
Yeah.
and then you get like Saw just over in the corner. Like, this is awkward.
Lies, deception.
He should be this transmission.
I definitely think it's the like world shattering. Like
Yeah.
it's you thought your father was the one thing, and turns out it's
Exactly.
all not true.
I should have had.
Yeah,
That's the feeling there.
Yeah,
that.
and when she reunites with him and on his death, that's even darker too.
Oh, for sure.
I always pause, not literally, but I like it. I always get caught in that moment when he tells her, "I have so much to tell you."
Yeah.
Like, clearly he's not in that moment.
Mads
But,
Mikkelsen is a god.
For sure.
and
And
my
his
thing,
brother is too.
I don't care how, but get him back in Star Wars. Like,
Yeah.
make him some CGI character so we don't
Exactly.
like whatever. But like, you can't just use him once like that. He's so
The
amazing.
Mikkelsen brothers are legends.
Oh
For
my
sure.
god. Well, I am just glad that his brother's coming in as Thrawn because he's just so definitively that character.
For sure.
So that's a big win for me.
Yeah.
A lot of fans.
So one thing real quick before we get into it is I gotta mention Chirrut and the Master Switch. Now, it doesn't necessarily make me cry. It may be a little when Baze says goodbye to him. As he's dying. Interesting. So there's a story in the Book of Mormon. In the book, not in the musical. Where there's a prophet named Samuel. He's trying to preach to a city. He's up on the wall preaching to them. They try to hit him with arrows, but God protects him and none of the arrows can hit him. When I saw Chirrut saying, I'm one of the first closest with me walking through a firefight, that's where my brain went immediately. And that's moving on a different level because of not only is it a great spiritual scene in Star Wars, but it related to something that I grew up hearing and I read all the time.
For sure.
And yeah, his death is, saying goodbye to Baze is.
For sure.
He's
like, you know where to find me, basically.
Well, and I love that, follow the Force. Something again we've kind of repeated in this episode, just the idea of just like, it's okay. It's like, this isn't the end. I'm one with the Force, and
then Baze starts saying it.
Right. So, and
which is funny because Baze didn't really trust much of the Force up until that point.
And that's the beauty of it is
renewed faith.
Yeah.
But
Spirit inspiring him.
Yeah. But my number one is the end celebration of Return of the Jedi. Going from Lando's escape from the exploding Death Star.
Harrowing.
The burning of Vader's armor. Beautiful scene.
For sure.
The firelight playing on Luke's face. The victory celebration music that John Williams composed for the special edition release gets me. And then, of course, the ghosts at the end. And I've still got some relatives out there who absolutely hate seeing Hayden Christensen as a Force ghost. But my argument is, yet again, if you're not moved, what are you doing?
Exactly.
I was kind of like back in the day, but now that we've gotten to see more of Hayden, that's Anakin, and so
Yeah.
seeing him does the same emotional punch as it did with Sebastian Shaw.
Yeah.
For sure.
So that whole end sequence
I
gets me every time.
I definitely think, like, if I could,
And I have to say a hot take. I don't like the Yub Nub song.
I mean,
I like both. I don't like Yub Nub as the finale song.
why not?
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
It-
there you go.
I feel like the
It
When you get
doesn't feel very finale-ish.
well, yeah, Ewok Celebration brings in
But it's a fun song in other contexts.
Yes, it is.
exactly.
Are you a lefty neck fella?
Oh heck yeah!
Oh, yes. Yes.
What?
How
Jedi.
dare you, Boop.
I
How dare
again
you, Boop.
love both, but like, in the exact situation you're talking about, Lofty Neck.
But Jedi rock.
Yeah, elsewhere.
No. In
So if I could make one, and this isn't the episode, but you brought it up, so I was thinking about it.
Of course.
So if I could make one change to the special edition and make it specialer in episode 6,
Ooh.
I would have it be Sebastian Shaw and Alec Guinness and Puppet Yoda.
Puppet Yoda, yes.
And then in just a moment, it transitions, and then it's Hayden
I
and
like that.
and
I like
Ewan,
that.
and
It's
still,
CG.
I like that.
no, it's still Puppet
I
Yoda.
like
It
that.
really doesn't
I
look
like
that different.
that.
No, he does.
Because I feel like that would have appeased people more instead of
Oh.
the either or. It's
Or
both.
here's an idea. Here's an idea for you. It's Sebastian Shaw when Luke looks at him.
There you go.
When Luke turns away, they turn into their younger versions. And they look at each other and smile.
I like that.
I like it. It's almost
That would have been beautiful.
right. And that's the thing is it's just
To
like
see
I feel like
Hayden and Ewan smile at each other.
Oh,
yeah, and that's the thing. I feel like if it was fully committed to, because I get what George is doing with that moment, but I feel like it's
Yeah, I don't buy
lopsided.
his logic.
Yeah, I like by not using the same logic on Obi-Wan, I get it's lopsided. It doesn't quite complete the effect for some people. But like I love because literature's added to that context of, when you're one with the Force, you kind of will yourself into that image, and it's
Yep.
what you choose to be, really. And he sees himself as that. So there you go.
Yep.
That's who he is. But yeah, Kenobi's gone a long way to confirm, and not a knock to anybody, but Hayden is Anakin and Ewan
Yep.
is Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yet again, if you weren't moved by the Kenobi series, I understand it's all subjective, but I can't wrap my head around that. I can't. Why there are people who were disappointed or really mad at it. I don't think I'll ever be able to understand it.
Yeah.
Especially those who didn't like rhythm. I don't know what you're doing.
I feel like at some point you gotta admit it's willful. Like you just
Yeah.
don't want to enjoy it. You don't want to have fun.
Yeah, remember the great Statement of Yoda, the name of my Tuesday show.
Mm.
What's in there? Only what you take with you.
Exactly.
Which is why those listening with the Ahsoka series, if you're listening, leave your baggage at the door.
Exactly.
100%. Yeah. Which, yeah, like last one in the hat, I'd say, since you mentioned that, it's definitely the dark tree on Dagobah is a moment for me. The moment where basically it just all plays out, and if Luke's not careful, he's going to go the same route his father did. That's definitely something that's gotten, like I mentioned earlier, that's grown up with me. It's gotten more meaning as I've grown up. But it always speaks very loudly. It can be just as simple as a premonition, but I feel like in the full context of the story of Luke's journey and Anakin's journey, it has a bigger meaning. And again, it couples very well with George's big intent, because there's moments where George speaks very loud and clearly through his creation, and then there's other moments where he just does stuff.
Yeah.
But George is very big on, you're always a choice away from being the good guy or the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, the choice was choosing to fight, to slay Vader rather than redeem him, to save him.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's definitely that kind of thing that catches me, of just like trying to be thoughtful, trying to be in the moment, trying to make sure that the choices I make are the best choice possible, or as much as I can help it. Because you never know the effects it's going to have. You never know what the next thing is going to be because of the choices you made. And so Dagobah's always been a big one for me. So can't deny the wisdom of Yoda.
For sure not.
Yep.
So with that, we'll turn it over to the audience. Whoever listens to this lovely, lovely show. Maybe we already mentioned your moments. Maybe we didn't. I guarantee there's so many more we didn't talk about, but we could have. But we'll leave that for our audience and for maybe a future show, because there's just so many fields in Star Wars. And so hopefully everybody jumps on the bandwagon to kind of expand this conversation. But definitely thank you, Brennen, for introducing the topic and for being willing to join us to chat about it too.
You're welcome.
Always appreciate having you on.
Yep. And if you're listening out there and you were feeling something during these movies, don't deny that feeling.
Exactly.
Never deny it.
Exactly. Unless it's like...
Unless it's a bad feeling.
Yeah, you might need some Pepto.
I always need Pepto.
But, Brennen, for those that may not know, as we mentioned, you have your own podcast. Can you plug where the good folks at home can find you?
Yep, you can find me on Twitter/X at Brennen Mystical. You can follow me on Threads and Instagram at Brennen Blue. You can follow my podcast, Page Turners They Were Not, on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
Great. Definitely worth checking Brennen out. Not only do his episodes feature great thoughtful moments, but also great guests, interviews, all kinds of stuff. So
a lot of hot takes.
A lot of hot takes.
Good hot takes.
Every now and then he even lowers his standard and has us on there. But we are definitely grateful for friends like Brennen. And we're also grateful for our other patrons who help support the show, help make doing what we do possible, talking about the things we love and feel and all that good stuff.
Exactly.
So if we can keep a schedule, which are no promises at this point, we're trying our darndest.
Who's to say?
But so is life. And so ideally we will be sitting down to talk about either Qui-Gon or the Mario movie. We're going to flip a coin, and it also depends on whether or not our friend's schedule aligns. But
yes,
one way or the other,
so
that you'll be getting some good news from us.
we have our way of getting around struck movies. Stay tuned.
Exactly. So, yes, looking forward to that. Either way, we'll be doing something when we are soonest able to do so. So follow us everywhere for the latest updates on all of that, and for our own hot takes over on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And as always, you wanna?
Oh, do I?
You wanna?
And also Rod of the Hutt with
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You know, this is, excuse me, a damn fine cup of coffee.